And now we will welcome the team who have worked on vaccine hesitancy, both the best practices to address this problem and the monitoring on the social media. And so I am calling Jonas Sivela from Finland and Francesco Gesualdo from Italy.
Great. Are the mics on the right level? Can you hear me well? Perfect. Hi, you met me previously. I'm Jonas Sivela from the Finnish Public Health Agency. Me and Francesco Gesualdo will walk you through work package 8 on vaccine hesitancy and uptake. It's been done in a collaboration between us, THL, and the Italian team. On a general level, it is divided into two quite different parts. The first part, which we at DHL were leading and are leading at the moment still, deals with increasing understanding of vaccine hesitancy and uptake and creating tools to tackle issues relating to vaccine hesitancy and uptake. And then the Italian team has been working on understanding and monitoring social media sentiments and opinions through a different tool, and Francesco will tell you about that after my presentation. So the first part, from research and practices to implementation. This part of the work too can be divided into two different sections. The first one has to do with increasing the knowledge base, and the second one with disseminating this knowledge. So we started out with creating a tool for mapping the situation or the understanding of vaccine hesitancy and uptake and the work related to it. And the tool, which many of you, I think, were forced to work with, Majid and Sarah at least, and many others, which was a quite heavy tool with quite a few questions, and many of them open-ended questions, which required quite a lot of work from you. This survey tool was sent to the institutions or the actors responsible or with the best knowledge of the national immunization programs and activities within these programs. And this, of course, was also a big effort to try to identify the right actors in the field. And later on, we modified this survey a bit and sent it out to stakeholders. We did the data gathering between November 2019 and June 2020 for the countries, and this was also challengingly enough the time when the pandemic started. But even though we got a very heavy crisis in the winter and spring of 2020, 28 out of 32 countries who were asked to respond did so, and this is, I think, one of a huge success too when it comes to the data gathering. We looked at different issues, and if you look at the main topics, we wanted to understand how the different countries and the stakeholders too, what they mean when they talk about vaccine hesitancy, how it is understood by the different actors. Also, how they perceive the situation, if there are differences between the different countries in how they perceive the situation when it comes to vaccine hesitancy and confidence and uptake in general, and also examining what has been done and is done research-wise in connection to this. And also, maybe most importantly, what is and has been done to improve things, to strengthen confidence and strengthen uptake, and how we are organized when we do this, how the different countries have organized their work, and how the different stakeholders have organized their work in the field. So we have, of course, a lot of results, and these results are published in a final report, and the link will be here later on, and feel free to take part of that. Just a couple of highlights from the results. So when we looked at the concept or the definition of vaccine hesitancy and how it is interpreted, we saw that it is interpreted in very many different ways in the different countries. And this is, of course, something that might also make the discussion difficult between the different actors if we if we have a different understanding of what we are talking about. Vaccine confidence, however, was something that was emphasized quite a lot among the different countries and in the different countries and stakeholders. And this is, of course, interesting because we know that vaccine uptake is affected by many different questions. And for example, it can be organized or looked upon in different ways. One of the definitions is based on a WHO understanding or definition of the topic, where we where we understand vaccine hesitancy to be constructed of issues related to confidence, complacency, and convenience. We use this as a background to examine the questions and saw that yes, countries do understand and see it in a similar way, but there was very heavy sort of emphasis towards confidence being the most important thing or issue affecting vaccine hesitancy and uptake. This is a thing that I think the part looking at how the vaccine hesitancy and uptake work is organized is something that I think interests quite a few working in the field, and we approached this in different ways. But I think the alarming thing here is that most of the countries do not think that they are able to work with these issues in a way that meets their needs, and this is, of course, a very concerning thing. We made some conclusions based on the work done, and as I said, they are published in the final report, and it is quite thick, so you will find more detailed elaborations there. But if we would like to, or we want to conclude something from this, from the results, and maybe highlight some topics and even recommendations, we need, as I said, a more coherent way of defining vaccine hesitancy so that we actually understand all what we are talking about. We also need to have a more holistic approach to the topic right now, and so far very much focus has been put on vaccine confidence. Here I'm very happy to see that the Commission has put out a tender act on approaching the uptake matter from more practical, from the more practical side, focusing on also other things than confidence. We need still to be better at targeting different population groups. There is still a lot of overlap, so we can, with more coordination and better coordination of collaboration, we can do the work more efficiently. And the one very important thing is that we need to start to appreciate this kind of work. It is still, as someone said previously also during the meeting, is something that is quite often done on the side by some social scientists, it doesn't yet have the appreciation it should have. And COVID at the latest has shown us that we also need to understand the human perspective and the human being who takes the vaccine in order to ensure that the uptake is good enough. So the second part of the work, we also wanted to disseminate the knowledge we have just shared. And in order to do this, we launched the Vaccine Hesitancy and Uptake Network on the existing EU health policy platform in order to support the countries, in order to support the actors in the field. And so far, the contents on this platform is based on our work in work package 8. It provides the network. It includes descriptions and presentations of good practices. For example, studies, campaigns, publications, different activities done in the field. It also includes all the results from the big data gathering. So it includes reports from all countries and in many cases, very detailed descriptions of what has been done. So far, it has more than 60 publications, and we are hoping to increase the number, of course, in the future for this. And we are able to organize webinars, which we did a couple of weeks back. Together with the coordinator and the Italian team, we presented results from this work, and it has other practical functions too. For example, if you would be interested in looking up campaigns or work done related to HPV, you could use keywords to find the right information. These are just some examples of what kind of contents we have, descriptions we have. Just to show the variety of it, there is about the first one is about communication campaign and work in Ireland. The second one is the WHO TIP program that was already mentioned by Sarah, which is a valuable tool if you want to work with, for example, with specific population groups in the society, descriptions of campaigns and of studies. And also we have quite a few descriptions of COVID-related work that has been done in the field. This is what it looks like. This is all for me. I will hand over to Francesca.
Thank you. Thank you, Jonas. Okay, so I'll try to condense in the presentation an explanation of the methodologies and of some of the results and the inspirations that we got from developing the social media monitoring platform for Work Package 8. So these were the objectives of the platform. So detection of early signals of lowering public confidence and selection of the most influential players. But we went beyond it, trying to also develop additional functions that we thought could be useful for giving a quantitative and qualitative idea of vaccine confidence and hesitancy on social media. This is a list of the main methodology points that we went through. First of all, we benchmarked the available solution, and I decided to put the date on that point because it was 2008. Meanwhile, lots of things that have changed, both in the scenario of vaccinations in Europe, but also especially from the available solutions that are present on the market. So this is an important point because we should always keep an eye on commercial or available solutions that can be sort of customized to the needs of public health. We selected 4 data sources to be investigated. Why I must stress here that one of the main purpose of the main character that we wanted to give to our platform was transparency of methods, which is what probably distinguished it from available tools, because often in commercial tools, the methods are not really transparent and clear, while we wanted everything to be transparent and traceable. So we selected these 4 data sources. We created vaccine-related keyword filters based on a structured framework. We cleaned the data in reiterated processes. We created an event detection system and a system for analyzing the community that was involved in the vaccination discourse on social media, and a system that allowed us to detect the influencers, both on the pro-vax, on the favorable to vaccine community, and in the hesitant and no-vax community. Maybe this coming to the end of these years of work, we developed probably what's the most refined function of the platform, which is based on artificial intelligence and machine learning. What we decided to do is to create, very much inspired by the work done by Heidi Larsson's group for the Vaccine Confidence Project. We decided to train an algorithm to detect automatically the stance of vaccine-related tweets in Italian as a sort of pilot that could be replicated in other language of the European Union. So this is an example of 4 tweets that could be classified based on their stance as promotional, neutral, discouraging, and ambiguous, which is a kind of classification that works much better in terms of machine learning to classify tweets, rather much better compared to sentiment analysis, which is something that is a bit controversial when used with regards to vaccines. Just a very quick overview of the platform functions, especially to leave as much space as possible to the discussion later on with the panel. So this is the first page, the homepage of the platform. What you can see here, these 3, Italy, France, and Spain, were the countries that were included in this sort of pilot, the first step for the platform. Then we have the possibility to select a time frame, and the main source of information was Twitter. That was explored was Twitter, and this trend shows the daily volume of vaccine-related tweets based on the validated keyword filters that I said before. Then we have a section that is showing the most the users that tweeted most, the users that posted the highest volume of retweets. I'll go through this later on a bit more in detail. Here we have the event detection system with the counting on the hashtags included in the tweets. That is one of the most useful and recognized as reliable methods to see when a specific topic is gaining attention on social media and on Twitter in particular. It was very interesting to do the pilot in these 3 languages. In this, actually, we developed also a geolocalization algorithm for the posts, so it was really not only the languages, of course, but also very specific to the countries. And it was interesting to see the comparisons. Please note that this, due to some, software constraints, the 3 graphs here do not have the same scale. So actually France is the country where the most of the tweets were published. But anyway, the trend of the tweets was interesting to be compared across the different countries. And this is back to the players of the vaccination discourse. This was based on recognized algorithms to identify who are the most influential players in the discourse, with specific metrics that are normally used by brands or companies to identify, for example, who is speaking more or could be more useful to promote a specific product. In this case, it was very useful to keep an eye on who are the most influential players from the pro-vax community, from those that are favorable to vaccines, because those nodes can be useful, for example, to spread science-based facts and recommendations. And also it was useful to keep an eye on the those nodes that were very, very active in spreading misinformation and disinformation around vaccines. It was keeping an eye on those accounts allowed us to timely detect the diffusion of specific misinformation. We also included, we connected to the Google Trends API that shows the volume of searches on Google on the vaccine topic, and the related queries that are used by Google search users. Giving us information on what specific arguments and topics are searched related to vaccines. Along the way, it was clear that this quantitative information was very, very useful and actionable, but probably was not enough. So what we did was we decided to explore qualitatively, together with the help of some social scientists from a couple of Roman universities, and we studied a very large volume of vaccine-related tweets and characterize them from many points of views. I'm going to present here just the dimension of vaccine stance that we detected from this random sample of tweets. And as you can see, and it's again specific to Italy, from November 2019 to June 2020, as you can see at the beginning, it was a random sample, but probably it was quite a reliable randomization, and it's interesting to see how the red stance, which means the discouraging stance towards the vaccine, was really strikingly dominating the conversation before the pandemic, at least on Twitter in Italy. And then the promotional community, the users that promoted vaccine, the favorable look on vaccines, good vaccine confidence, just started to talk a lot more, probably, and this was triggered by the pandemic. At the beginning, the discouraging tweets sort of shrinked a lot, and this is described as by social scientists like the spiral of silence effect, because the theme at that point was very controversial. It was just the beginning. They were starting to talk about vaccines, but COVID-19 vaccines. Everybody silenced from the no-vax community, and then they gained again quite a bit of space in the discourse. But the good effect was that people talking in a favorable way towards vaccine were present anyway. And then getting to the end of the presentation, I wanted to tell you quickly about this function, which is based on the machine learning training, the training of a machine learning algorithm for automatic stance detection. So the work that we did on the 3,000 randomly selected tweets qualitatively took a lot of time and lots of energy, and also in order to do it in a reliable way, you have to have multiple researchers classifying each tweet. It's very time consuming and energy consuming. We decided to see what happened if we trained an algorithm that did it for us. And as I said, we were inspired by work done by the Vaccine Confidence Project in maternal vaccination. We used the same classification of stance, which we thought was very, very useful and reliable, and we trained the algorithm. This is an interesting result that we found. So this is a confusion matrix. The darker blue squares are those in the diagonal. It means that the predicted label, as we just focused on promotional, neutral, and discouraging, the predicted was the same of the true label. that classified by the researchers. So the darker the squares in the diagonal, the better performing is the algorithm. So we trained the algorithm on those tweets that had been published between November 2019 and June 2020, and we got an accuracy of 73%. Means that 73% of tweets are classified correctly, and this for a machine learning algorithm is a very, very high number from what our data scientists told us. And what we did then is that we noticed that the language and the tone and the contents and topics of the tweets when the vaccine was rolled out had completely changed from what happened before. So we said, okay, what's going to happen if we apply the algorithm to most recent tweets? And actually the accuracy dropped quite dramatically. So this told us that an algorithm is not a static, product that you achieve from training, but you have to retrain it periodically, probably every 6 months is a reasonable time to address changes in the language. And in fact, we retrained it and we went up to a reasonable and acceptable accuracy. And this is the function included in the platform. So we added this section that shows, based on the algorithm predictions, a weekly proportion of promotional, neutral, and discouraging tweets. These are the recommendations and the lessons learned by this experience of making the platform. So first of all, constantly monitor available online products from social media monitoring, probably a long time, more transparent and more, powerful tools will be available online, should be taken into account for social media monitoring at the public health level. Keyword filters are very important to detect consistent tweets, consistent posts, and this should be an effort should be put in the creation of validated keyword filters, and also in this case, keyword filters should be updated over time. Quantitative data are very useful, but qualitative analysis is very useful and needed to dive more into contents. Event detection system can help spotting the emergence of critical communication issues, but it's important not to forget that it's been confirmed by many studies that debunking single misinformation and disinformation pieces is useful, but it's very important to do the inoculation of science-based understanding of science-based facts, and to teach people to understand science-based fact in order to get a long-term results. Monitoring influencers can be very useful, as I said before, both identifying nodes with vaccine confident nodes and vaccine hesitant and no-vax nodes. And the algorithm for stance analysis is mandatory to analyze different high volumes of tweets. Keep in mind that we can virtually train the algorithm on any kind of classification. So I was very interested in having a conversation with Sarah before on a study that has classified tweets based on the 5 Cs of the 5C model for vaccine hesitancy, for example. We could train an algorithm on that, and that could be very, very useful. This is ideas that are generated by in-person meetings again. And finally, another very important thing that we understood is that vaccine confidence is very context specific. So we should keep into account that probably it's great to have this double look. So have a comprehensive look at what happens in Europe, and then focus freely on specific characteristics in specific contexts. And that's all our contexts. Okay, thank you.